against the Crown Forces. The Crown Forces themselves are redeploying, bringing in reinforcements, extending their line in order to increase fire as well. So the troops move forward into the line, directed by their NCOs and officers, and once they're in position, they'll begin laying down their fire. Notice the Glengarry's moving off into the rough ground on the far end of the stage, on the left of the British line. Perhaps they'll try a flanking movement. We see American troops in the grass as well. These are areas that could be very dangerous because commanders aren't sometimes watching those, and the terrain makes it difficult to hold those areas.
The big ship's hiding behind the tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
The action has become general now. Two disciplined forces against each other, loading, presenting, firing, and doing that repeatedly in order to determine the outcome of this battle. It could go any way, folks.
We know.
Could I ask the people at the far end of the field by the river to move back behind the rope, please? And those of you near the rope, if you would please sit down. You're blocking the view of those behind you. Thank you very much. You'll see coming on the field the Canadian Fencibles. This is the Canadian units, their colors flying, moving on to the battle to reinforce the Crown Forces. So we're seeing a further build-up going on here. The Canadians coming onto the field now. Joining the other Canadians from the Glengarry Light Infantry, the Voltigeurs Canadiens, and the Canadians also serving in the ranks of the Redcoats. So you'll see we've got several engagements going on here. The main one with the line, and in the far distance in the rough ground between the light troops engaging themselves. The artillery would also be involved in this, firing down along the line, trying to cause as many casualties as possible. The music that was played would be to aid morale, but also to pass on instructions to the troops. And now we see the Fencibles moving into their lines with their King's color and their regimental color.
The Americans are a lot more disciplined than the British. Watch this.
And a good solid volley there from the American forces. See, we have more casualties on the field as additional forces are coming onto the field now. Armies could also, at this point, fix bayonets and threaten their opponent with a bayonet charge. That didn't mean they ran wildly against their opponent. It's just they advanced as a solid line with the cold steel showing. But this is still a firefight, and we're going to see another volley here by the American forces.
I mean, they're very disciplined. Very disciplined.
The troops that were fighting here would have been engaged in many battles in Upper Canada and some in Lower Canada, so they moved all around depending on the military situation. The event here in November 1813 was a dangerous point of the war as the Americans threatened Montreal. The guns are firing in response, supporting the American forces. In the battle, the Americans are continuing to advance. We see that on the British left, the Glengarry Light Infantry is continuing to skirmish against the Americans. The native warriors are in that region as well. All across the field, we have wounded personnel as well.